Good morning, everyone. Running just a second or two late, if anything's working at all. There we go. I haven't even started the lights today. I have this thing where I'm doing some physical therapy, and the therapy is from 7:30 to 8:30, and it's at another place, and so I gotta go there and do the thing, and then I gotta get back here, but I'm all sweaty and gross. So then I gotta get in the shower, and then I'm rushing to get here by 9 o'clock, and it's not always accomplishable. So here we are, 3 minutes late. Thank you for reminding me of that, Jan Blank. And we're here. We did it. Let me turn on the lights. Alexa, start the office nonsense. Let's get that rolling. There we go. Got some lights. It is 9:04. So today, the thing I wanted to start with is that I need to get through another talk that I need to give here in... Well, I probably need to make a recording of it tomorrow. So I thought it might be good to just run through it once while I'm here on stream. And if that's the case, then let's just do it. So I gotta find it here. And I'm not finding it. Where? I have to find the appropriate presentation. I thought that I had that one in here. Well, that's going to make this trickier. Let me see if I can find it on this computer. So for those of you that don't know, I have a PC that I stream from. Oh, we got a question here. Oh, lucky number 7. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, we've made some dramatic improvements to the Alexa Skills Kit since the early days. It's been 4 or so years since that stuff's been out. So I'm glad that you're back and checking it out. It's there's some really good stuff in there. I probably should do like I think there's a lot of folks like you, Lucky, that got into it early and were like, oh, this is neat, but it's hard and it's kind of confusing. And we've streamlined a lot of that stuff. And I feel like there's an opportunity to give a talk or discussion or something about like, hey, remember that stuff you used to know? It's way easier now. There's a command line interface if you prefer that. There's all sorts of cool stuff. So maybe I'll have to do that. Just like here's what's happened in the last 4 years kind of thing. Because I think a lot of people get in and they early adopt and they check stuff out and then they realize like, oh, this isn't for me, or I'm going to wait until this is more mature, which is totally reasonable. And then they don't come back because they don't know if it's easier or better or whatever. Okay, I really thought that I had this presentation somewhere. Where else would this be? Oh, I think I know where it is. Yeah, and account linking was tough. It's still not easy, but account linking can be tricky. All right, let's see if I can go find... I think I have an S3 bucket that has all of my presentations in it. So I'm going to go find that and download it real quick. And then we're going to give this talk. The talk I'm giving is 10 things every voice app should do. And I really thought I had a copy of that on these machines, but apparently I don't. So we will back this up, and let's see if we can find... Yeah, I have an S3 bucket that holds these. Man, I don't know where I put this slide deck, but it's here somewhere. There you are. Okay, let's click that and download it. That's going to take just a quick minute. In the meantime, How is everybody? Is the casino running? I haven't even checked that. It looks like it. No, maybe it isn't. Okay. Glad to hear you're doing good. Doing well, Lucky. We just have to download this thing. Oh, it's down. Okay. So we'll get this presentation open. And just take a quick look at it. Okay. So I have the presentation here. Let's get it loaded up. And then I'll flip on my screen. Maybe that's going to work. We'll see. Okay. Here we go. We're going to jump over to this view. This view? Yeah, I guess that'll work. You guys can also see that I have the leaderboard up there now. So, Lucky, I don't know if you're on there. I don't know if you've earned enough money to do that yet. But everybody has a balance if they've ever posted a message in chat. And so if you type !balance, it will tell you how many coins you have. And you can wager those coins in poker and slots, and 104 coins. Nice. So you can use those. Every time you post a message in chat, by the way, you earn one more. So if you type another message of any kind, or even type !balance again, you'll have 105. It gives you a new coin every time you post a message. And then you can gamble those by saying !poker, and then a space, and then how much you want to wager. And if you don't provide a value after the command, it'll bet half of your money. So if you would prefer that, you can just say !poker, and it'll bet half of your coins automatically. But that's for poker. The same goes for slots, !slots. And then we also have roulette. Roulette's a little more complicated because you have to do things like !roulette, and then your bet, which is 5 or whatever, and then where you want to put it on the table. And it'll spin the wheel immediately for you for all that. So I am in the process of building a new engine for this that is turn-based, so you can actually, like for video poker, you can get dealt cards and then get new cards. For roulette, you can put a bunch of bets down and then spin the wheel. Lots of things like that that are coming, but I haven't incorporated them into the current chatbot that you're using there. So for now, it's just poker, slots, and roulette, and you have 104 coins to wager with. So that is how that works. And then you can see we have a leaderboard, and there's one person that's gone a little crazy. They have 52 billion coins, which is a lot, but they tend to, at this point, bet like 5 billion at a time. So one of the features that I'll be adding to the new chatbot is minimum and maximum wagers, so that getting to 52 billion isn't nearly as easy. All right, so I wanted to give this talk, 10 things every voice app should do, and the reason that I want to give this talk, actually, I need to jump out of that for a second. See if I can find my mouse. Let's get out of the presentation. I just noticed there's some slides that are hidden, and they shouldn't be, so I want to make sure that I unhide those. So we'll unhide. Let's just roll through this, because obviously I haven't downloaded it early, but we'll get into all of this stuff. I just want to make sure there's nothing else that's really hidden. I don't think there is. Okay, cool. So with that, I'm going to fire up this presentation, hopefully at the beginning. Nope. All right, we have 6 people here. I know that there are a few people tuned in over at... oh, nice, Corey. Thank you. Well, if you've given any thought to getting into voice, this is the talk you want to hear. So this will give you all the tips and pointers you need on building some cool things. Anyway, let's just get right into it, because I need a run through of this presentation, and then we can talk and answer questions, or I could get back to coding the casino or whatever later in this 2-hour block. So with that, here we go. 10 things every voice app should do. So the point of this presentation is not to identify all the best practices, because there are many, but it's to focus on the things that I think apply to everything. Everybody should be thinking about these every time they build something for voice. And really, a lot of this applies to chatbots and things like that as well. So keep that in mind if that's something more that you dabble in, maybe more than voice. Okay, so the first one is key to pretty much everything we do in software, but we forget it daily. And that's to just do one thing really well. I don't know why this is so hard for us to remember, but we tend to have so many features and so many I'm guilty of this myself, right? This casino that I'm building, I could have just built it with video poker, and that had been it. Like, we just start with video poker. And then once that's launched and we start building an audience, then be like, hey, we're going to add slots. And then be like, hey, we're going to add this and we're going to add that. But I'm not doing that. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm building video poker, and then slots, and then craps, and then blackjack, and all of this stuff is getting built before we ever launch. But I've restricted my scope to those 5 games: blackjack, craps, slots, roulette, and video poker. But even within video poker, there's about a dozen variations of video poker. I'm not going to be launching those first. I'm just going to do the one basic one, and then if we want to do Deuces Wild and all the other stuff later, I can do that. We're not going to do that for launch. So the idea is to do one thing really well. Let me give you an example of a skill that I've built that does exactly this. It's a skill called GamesBack, and this is incredibly timely right now because it's about baseball. You can see I have a baseball in the icon there, and the important piece to this is that I'm a big fan of the Cleveland Indians. They are my team. They've always been my team, and I'm really interested in how they're doing. Now, when I get up in the morning, what I generally do is I go flip over to my favorite website or app or whatever, and I'm looking for this table. This is all the information you need to know about how your team is doing. Not only over the most recent time, but current standings, what the opportunity is. You can learn a lot from this chart. But if you look at wins and losses, and you just say, hey, how many wins do the Indians have? And you say 52. Well, that's not a good representation of anything, because all of these numbers are relative to each other. And the one that's the most important to me is games back. The number of games back from first place that team is. And if the number is 0, you can say that they have a dash there for the teams on top. If the number is 0, then I want to know who's in second place and how far back are they. Because then I'm going to want to pay attention to, like, when are we playing those teams, and when can we make sure that we're actually going to make the playoffs or win our division or whatever. So let me give you a quick example of how this skill works. Alexa, open Games Back.
I've added the entire MLB standings to your screen. What team do you want to know about?
The Indians.
The Cleveland Indians are 3 games back in the American League Central. They are in 3rd place, with a record of 31-24. Which team would you like to know about next?
The Chicago White Sox.
The Chicago White Sox are currently in 1st place in the American League Central, with a record of 34-21. The Minnesota Twins are in 2nd place, a half game back behind the White Sox. Which team would you like to know about next?
Stop.
Goodbye.
So there's much, much more that could be done with a skill like that, right? I could have who they're playing next and what their schedule looks like and have all of the possible statistics that we saw on that chart. The problem with that is that we don't need that. The thing that I really care about, and the reason that I built it, is because I really, really care about how many games back they are from first. And I know that now they're 3 games back. And then I can go do my own research or look other things up. But I want to know, how many games do they have left against the White Sox? That's a much harder thing. I didn't want that kind of stuff to get in the way of me just launching a really cool skill. And so there are a lot of people that go out and they ask games back about their team, and they can find out exactly what's going on with their team and whether or not they made the playoffs. And since we're talking about that, my baseball team, the Cleveland Indians, last night, with a walk-off home run, walk-off home runs means they hit a home run and then they won the game. That was the end of the game. They made the playoffs as of last night. So even though they're 3 games back, they're in the playoffs. But they still have a small opportunity to actually win the division. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that all works out. We're playing the team at top, the Chicago White Sox. And we beat them the last 2 games, so I'm hoping we can beat them the next 2. And then it's a really close race for the top of the Central Division. Anyway, that's enough about baseball. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is make your name memorable. So this is one of those things that isn't obvious at first, but as you start building something for a skill, you realize pretty quickly that, oh my gosh, like this isn't going to work, or people aren't going to remember this. And I want to give you a good example of a skill that does a fantastic job with this first, and that is the Magic Door. The Magic Door is a skill that is an adventure story, right? You think of it like an old-time Zork, where you can move east, west, north, south. You can go on an adventure and find stuff and uncover things. And it's done really well with sound effects and all sorts of things. I'll give you a demo here just in a second. But what's cool about their name is that the door doesn't actually have a whole lot to do with the story. But by naming it that way, they were able to very easily make a memorable experience just by reminding me that I want to say something like this. Alexa, open the Magic Door.
Welcome back to the winter adventure. As we follow the trail, we walk through the trees, and a crow calls out. I wonder if he's hoping for a snack. We keep going.
Alexa, stop.
Okay, goodbye. In the Wizard Adventure, you can meet the wizard and travel through time. For details, visit us at facebook.com/Alexa Magic Door. Would you like to rate the Magic Door?
No. All right, so that's an example of the Magic Door. And the idea behind that one is that it's just an adventure game, but that kind of name, that Magic Door, you have that nice long creaky door sound when the skill opens. All of that provides you a really memorable experience that when you come back the next time, you're going to be like, oh yeah, open the Magic Door, right? It's easy to remember and interact with. So those kinds of names work really well. The other thing to remember is that I'm saying open. It doesn't have to be open. There's all sorts of different ways to open a skill, and you can see that all of these words that I have highlighted are things that you can say to start any skill. But by cleverly pairing one of these words with the name of your skill, you can find easy ways to make it more memorable, like launch rocket ship stories, right? We could say open rocket ship stories. That would work fine. But by using the word launch, it makes it so much more memorable because we're launching these rockets, right? Beginning a race, resuming my story, or tell my diary, use toothbrush timer, right? All of these things give a more meaningful purpose to what's going on with your skill. And so it's not just about your name, it's also very much about the words that you pair it with. So let's get into naming. I have a game, and this game is designed to give you 3 clues, and those 3 clues have something in common, but you don't necessarily know what they are. In fact, I'll fire it up here in just a second. But as I was going through the game and I was thinking about what to call it, I was trying to come up with some really clever names, like something like Triforce, right? Like you've got, that's from the Legend of Zelda series. Triforce has a cool name, but I can't use Triforce. But something with try on the beginning seems kind of cool. And then I realized the word trivia has the word try at the beginning. That's kind of cool, but they're not really trivia questions in the traditional sense. So what if I flipped it around? What if I called it via try, like by way of 3, right? That's kind of cool because I have 3 clues and then you have to figure out what they are. So it's kind of like you're trying to solve this by way of 3 things. And then I thought, nobody's going to remember via try. That's not a word they're going to stick with or remember or hold on to in their memories. And so what's going to end up happening is they're going to instead be like, hey, how do I play that 3 clues game? And so because of that, this is what I named the skill, 3 clues. it just makes a lot more sense. It's very clear and obvious, and it's easy to remember. So let's look at that. Alexa, open 3 clues.
Welcome to 3 Clues. In this game, I will give you 3 clues, and you need to figure out what those clues have in common. Are you ready for your first 3 clues?
Yes.
Hummingbirds, hospitals, hockey teams.
Repeat that.
Hummingbirds, hospitals, hockey teams.
Repeat that.
Undefined.
They all have wings.
Correct. They all have wings. Are you ready for another 3 clues?
No.
Sorry to see you go. Catch you next time on 3 Clues.
All right. So you can see with that, with the 3 clues example, one, I'm saying 3 clues all the time. So it makes a lot of sense to kind of reiterate that and push that back to what we're doing. But on top of that, we give the user the opportunity to play our game and interact and think. And so they can come back to a question and be like, oh, they all have wings. And if you guys didn't get that, it was hummingbirds and hospitals and hockey teams. What do those 3 things have in common? And the answer is wings. Hospitals have wings. Hockey teams have wings. Certainly hummingbirds have wings. So that's how we solve that question. But it's important to, the lesson here in number 2 is to really think about, how do I make it memorable? How do I make it so that this is going to lock in someone's brain and they're going to remember what my game is called? Okay, number 3. And this is a really important one as well. Actually, they're all important. I'm going to stop saying that. Focus on intents, not commands. And let me describe what I mean by that. We want to give the users the opportunity to say what they want to say. We don't want to create a list of things that they need to say. Here's an example. I have this really cool skill called DevTips, and the point of DevTips is to be able to give Alexa developers the opportunity to ask questions about things that they may not know information about, and they need to know more. So maybe they've heard about APL, but they don't really know what it is or how to get started, or in-skill purchasing, or all sorts of things that are built right into building stuff for Alexa. And so, I keep saying the name. I got to try to stop doing that. So with DevTips, when I first built it, I built it like this. People could say things like, ask DevTips about monetization, or tell me about persistence, or ask DevTips to say Bazinga. Right? These are all things that work, and they work just fine. The problem with this is that it assumes that the user knows what to ask. And so those are commands, right? They have a list in their head of the things that they can say and do, but that's not really how we want this to all work. What we really want is for the user to be able to say the thing that's on their mind and for us to get the thing that they want. So if we flip it around to intents, they might say something like, teach me something new, or play a SpeechCon, or what should I learn next? Right? And in each of these examples, they're not giving me anything specific. What they're doing is saying, let me hear something. And give me some information that I don't already know. So with the idea of intents is, don't assume your user knows what your database looks like. Don't assume your user knows all the things that they can do, because they don't. And so you need to make sure you have opportunities for them to do things like this, so that they can just say, well, teach me something new. And it should look and say, oh, let's find a topic we haven't already shared with them, and give that to them. And maybe it's useful and maybe it's not. But this is actually a perfect thing for Lucky, who's on the stream, who said, hey, man, there's probably a bunch of stuff I've probably missed over the last couple of years. How do I get to know about all that? Well, if I had actually finished filling in the database for this entire skill, this would be a perfect place for you to go and just keep saying, teach me something new, tell me this, tell me that, right? And it would let you kind of run through the process of like, oh, this is new, and this is new, and this is new, and these are all things I didn't know before. So that's an example. Let me show you what that looks like. Alexa, open DevTips.
Welcome. What would you like to know?
Play a SpeechCon for me.
I picked a random topic for you.
Oh,
Node.js.
Alexa,
Undefined.
play a random SpeechCon.
Here's a random topic.
No.
Dialogue management.
Alexa,
Undefined.
say Bazinga.
Bazinga. What would you like to try?
Tell me something new.
I picked a random topic for you. Entity resolution. Undefined, what would you like to do next?
Stop.
I got a jet.
This is the problem with pet projects like that one. I never finished filling in the database, so when she's saying undefined, she's looking in my data record for the description of that topic, and I never filled that in. So we'll get there eventually, but that's the idea behind thinking about intents versus commands, and how you really want to think about what the user's intentions are and what they're going to try to accomplish versus just listing out a list of commands that you know, but they probably do not. All right, number 4. Number 4 is a really important one, and I really like doing this in a live audience, but we'll try it here today. So I want you to think about simplifying choices. This is something that becomes very complicated with voice, and we need to simplify as much as we can. So imagine you're in a conversation, and someone asks you a question, right? We don't know what the question is yet, but somebody asks you a question. There's a variety of ways that you could ask that, you can answer that question, and we want to give the user an opportunity to answer it as best we can. And we often think about asking open-ended questions. Here's some examples. Is there something else I can help you with? Do you have another question? Would you like to know something else, right? Keep it really open and flexible. The problem with these questions is that they're not actually open-ended questions. Those are all yes-no questions. And this adds a layer of complexity and choice to the user that they don't necessarily need or want. If I say, do you have another question? We hope that they'll just say, yeah, here's my other question. But what they're probably going to say is yes, because they're interacting with a device. And so they say yes, and then what am I going to say? Okay, what is your question? So instead, flip it around. Think about how you're asking your questions. Take the yes, no away, and ask them like this. What else can I help you with? What else would you like to know about? What topic can I assist with? By asking those kinds of questions, you've taken the yes, no away, and we just assume, of course, you want to know something else. Or they can always say no, they can say stop, they say cancel. They can get themselves out of the skill if they want to, but you should give them the opportunity to continue to participate. So that's a little bit about open-ended questions and how we want to really think about what the steps are that people say in a conversation. And let's take those yes, no's away when it's not important. Another thing I like to do is ask you to participate in this little part, because I think this really helps demonstrate choice. So for those of you that are watching, I'd love for you to get into your chat and get ready. And the moment you know the answer to the question I'm about to ask you, I want you to just like put an emoji like a hand or a thumbs up or a whatever. Get it in your text box ready to go. And then the moment you know the answer to my question, you don't have to write the answer to the question. I just want you personally to have made the choice. Then I want you to hit enter on your keyboard and submit that, okay? So we're talking about like some kind of hand emoji of some kind, okay? So this is the question. If you had to choose one of these forever, which one would you choose? Are you ready? Here we go. You have to pick one for the rest of your life. I'm betting maybe a couple of you already have made your mind up. You've already decided that, like, oh, yeah, this is easy. I can very easily decide that I'm going to choose vanilla, or you're wrong. It's okay. It's okay if you're wrong, but the answer is vanilla. No, the choice that you're making is one that is very easy to make. You have a preference. You have a favorite. So let's do this again, all right? We're going to get ready. I want you to think about what your choice is going to be, and I want you to make a choice now. This is a much harder choice, right? Same idea, much, much harder. It takes time to ingest the list. It takes time to evaluate each one. Do I like Oreos and cream, or do I like Twix, or do I like PB Chunk? As you look at this list, did any of you happen to have Swamp as your choice? Did anybody pick Swamp? I didn't pick Swamp. In fact, I had to go look this up because I just couldn't believe that there was a flavor called Swamp. So I looked at it. This is what it is. It's vanilla ice cream. It's got Oreos, malted milk balls, chocolate chips, M&Ms, and I realized part of my slide isn't showing. Oh, and I guess there's just more information below. So that actually sounds really good. but I wouldn't have picked that. That wouldn't have been my last choice. So these kinds of things, this kind of choice that we have to make is very, very difficult. So let's pretend that we're building a skill that is it's a fruit stand. And in our fruit stand, we have all sorts of fruits here. You can see in my photo I have two different kinds of grapes. I have grapefruit, I have oranges, I have lemons, apples, strawberries. So it might be very tempting, because we're pulling stuff from databases a lot of the time, to ask the user a question like this. We have apples, bananas, oranges, lemons, grapes, kiwis, blackberries, strawberries, and mangoes. Which fruit do you want? The problem with this approach, the problem with doing it this way, is that I didn't know you were asking me a question. I thought you were just telling me some stuff. And humans, by default, when we're just being told stuff, we don't pay very good attention. And so because we don't pay very good attention, we don't really remember what's on your list. You need to tell us to pay attention first. So there's a couple of things I'd recommend here. One, that's too many choices. It freezes us up like we did with the ice cream. But in addition to that, we could simplify this a whole lot. We could just say instead, which fruit do you want? Apples, bananas, or oranges? Now, there's always the choice to say something else or to say grapes. Maybe we're trying to push apples, bananas, and oranges right now because our produce is overstocked for those things. But I asked the question first, and this is the real key to all of this. By asking the question first and by saying, what fruit do you want, apples, bananas, or oranges, I'm able to let the user know that they need to pay attention. What fruit do you want? Here's my list. Now I'm well aware that I'm going to need to make a choice and that I need to pick something from what you're offering me. Now, apples, bananas, and oranges is a slim part of our list, but it's a way to get them started. Maybe it's our best-selling or our highest profit margin item or whatever, but it allows us to push forward and let the user start that conversation. Where if we give them a list before, oh, come on. I don't want any of this on my screen. So, apples, bananas, or oranges. That's the thing that we're asking about. Simplify, simplify, simplify. That's the message in number 4. Okay, number 5, use the one breath test. This is another really important thing to think about as we're providing information to our users. That long list of fruits was about as far as we'd really want to go, but I really struggled when I was creating this to come up with an image that represented a one breath test. I mean, I found this one, and I think this does a good job of illustrating like a good deep breath. Maybe I think he's at the ocean, but I can feel like he's taking this nice, relaxing, calming, deep breath. And I want you to imagine doing something like that as you're about to speak to someone. Taking a nice deep breath is good. Another way to think about a deep breath is this. Let's see if I can find my mouse. Where did my mouse go? It's not there. There it is. Let's see if we can. Can't do it. Okay, so I can still show it. This is another good example of a deep breath, right? He has no breathing equipment on at all, but he's deep under the water. And so you can imagine what one breath looks like here, because that's all you get when you go under the water. Another one to talk about is this one. This is certainly a one breath test. Maybe not one you want to take, but the idea here is that we think about one breath and how long that takes and how much air we can hold in our lungs. And I want to really think about what the one breath test means in voice. So here's a good example. I'm assuming you guys all know who this guy is. He is a hero in a major movie franchise. I was trying not to say any names. And you probably know a little bit about him, but I have a skill that is a Star Wars databank. It knows everything about everything, right? Every planet, every vehicle, every character, every droid. And so in doing that, I thought about what my answer should look like, and this is where I landed for Luke Skywalker. Alexa, ask unofficial Star Wars databank about Luke Skywalker.
You asked me about Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was a Tatooine farm boy who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the greatest Jedi the galaxy has ever known. Along with his friends Princess Leia and Han Solo, Luke battled the evil Empire, discovered the truth of his parentage, and ended the tyranny of the Sith. A generation later, the location of the famed Jedi Master was one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. Is there something else you would like to know?
No.
Is there something else you would like to know?
Stop.
It's a trap.
Okay, so that's an example of a very long-winded description about Luke Skywalker. That's not exactly what we're going for. What we want is something simple and concise. And so let's think about this guy for a second. How could we make this better? Alexa, ask unofficial Star Wars databank about Darth Vader.
I didn't find a match for Ask Unofficial Star Wars Databank, but you can ask about a character, or a species, or a vehicle, for example. What else would you like to know?
Tell me about Darth Vader.
You asked me about Darth Vader. Darth Vader is a bad man. Also, spoiler alert. He is Luke Skywalker's father. How else may I be of assistance?
Stop.
Do. Or do not. There is no try.
Okay, so you can see that I was able to simplify that quite a bit. Obviously, there's much, much more I could tell you about Darth Vader, but the idea is I want to be able to give you a very short, concise answer that's maybe a little humorous. Everybody kind of knows who Darth Vader is, so that we're not really giving a whole lot away there. And then if I wanted to, I could have like a longer version that the user opts into. But I don't want to force them to listen to paragraphs and paragraphs of text when they just wanted something clear and concise. So that's the idea behind keeping things very trimmed, and think about that one breath test. You really don't want your voice assistant to be providing more information than you could say in one breath. Okay, number 6. Include a variety of responses. This is an important one because you don't want the skill to sound like the same thing over and over and over. You want it to feel like you're talking to a real person. And the reason that I say this is because imagine when we went to offices to go to work, you walk into the office and you talk to Phil and you're like, "Hey Phil, how's the day going?" And he's like, "It's going to be one of those days." And he says that literally every time you come into the office. Are you going to keep asking Phil how his day is? Probably not. That's a pretty boring conversation. It's clear he's not really invested in what's being said or how it's being exchanged, and so you don't want to have a conversation with Phil. Well, if you want people to have a conversation with your software, you need to mix it up. You need to include a variety of responses. When we think about things like chess, there's a set of predictable moves, right? If we think about designing apps for like the iPhone, right? For mobile platforms or for Google, they always use words like predictable and consistent. The problem with voice is that we actually want to be exactly the opposite of that. We want to flip the whole world upside down, and what we want to do instead is do everything in a way that's generally unpredictable and unorganized. And the reason for that is because that's what real conversations sound like. They're not in the same order, they're not the same process, they're not the same words, and you want to make sure that you're going through the process of giving the user a conversational experiment. So, keep it fresh, keep it random. For everything that your skill says, you should have 5 to 7 versions of those statements, so that every time you talk to the user, you use some different speech. You twist it just a little bit differently. You use different words. It makes them pay more attention because it's not predictable. When it is predictable, they don't pay attention, and you get a lot of opportunities where they could have responded, but they tuned out, or they were paying attention to something else, and you want to keep their focus. So mix it up. Mix the order up too, right? I have an example called, excuse me, TKO Trivia. Every time I start the skill, it's going to be different. Every time I leave the skill, it's going to be different. And everything in between is also very varied. So let's take a look at that. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
Welcome to TKO Trivia, the trivia game show where you answer difficult questions and win nothing. What should we do next? You can say give me a random question, or start today's game.
Give me a random question.
Here's your question, from the geography category.
Where in the world is...
Which is the only one of the Great Lakes entirely in the U.S.?
Alexa, Lake Michigan? Nice.
Cha-ching.
Correcto mundo. That just got you 10 more points, which gives you a total of 20. What would you like to do? You can start today's game, or ask for a trivia question.
Stop.
I'm off like a dirty shirt.
So you notice when she welcomed, she said, "Where you answer difficult questions and you win nothing." That's kind of the idea behind a random statement. If we start it again, which I'll do in a second, I'll just start it up and then I'll quit. And you heard on the way out, she goes, "Okay, I'm off like a dirty shirt." So let's try that again. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
It appears our trivia questions are better than our programmers.
Alexa,
Something just...
quit. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
Welcome to TKO Trivia. What should we do next? You can say give me a random question, or start today's game.
Stop.
See you in the future.
Alexa, quit. All right, so that is how you can see it's randomizing those statements. So every time we come in, it gives me something a little bit different. I don't get the same kind of clever joke every time. I don't get out all that stuff. Every time it's kind of mixed up. So Mr. Smoofy, welcome. ATK, welcome. TeamView, welcome. Glad you guys are here. Mr. Smoofy, do you like the new leaderboard? What are your thoughts on that? Also, in my testing of the leaderboard last night, I made some monies, and so now I'm in 4th. That's completely legit. I have records in the database of every wager that I made, but I won some monies. I thought you would like that. I had to change my spacing up, honestly, because your balance is so large. But it's dynamic. So as people make wagers and as things change, you will see people rise and fall in the list. It doesn't actually like animate or anything, but it does do a good job of reflecting change. So if I won't do it now, but if Mr. Smoofy, just make a bet of any kind, like 10 coins or whatever, and you'll see that. Oh, Corey getting crushed on 2 hands in a row. If you make a wager, you'll see that your balance will change. Because it'll either go up or go down depending on your bet. Or you could bet $1 million. So there you go. Oh, Corey, I'm so sorry to hear that. Here, we'll, I think I can't even get into the thing right now, but I'll give you some more money later. So anyway, that's the leaderboard. People will move up and down it as their balances change. And then obviously, Mr. Smoofy, once we get done with this Alexa skill and we are able to rebuild this chatbot here, we will have to reset balances, and there will be limits, like caps on max and minimum bets. It's not that I don't want you to have $52 billion. It's just that it doesn't seem fair to be able to bet millions and millions or even billions of coins at once. Unless you've, like, if you want to climb your way up incrementally, but I think it's cooler to have people more bunched up. Anyway, back to the presentation. So let's talk about those responses, those random responses. This is one of the ways that I do that. I'm using a service called Airtable. And inside Airtable, I have a bunch of voice responses. These are just some of my goodbyes. But you can see I have things like catch you on the rebound, or if I don't see you around, I'll see you square. Right? Like just a bunch of clever ways to say goodbye. I also found out that there are many, many more ways to say goodbye, like see you later alligator and after a while crocodile, than I ever realized. I had no idea. Mr. Smoofy, I'm totally on board with a one-time big bet. We'll have to find a way to do that. So you can see here, like, gotta go buffalo, bye-bye butterfly, out the door dinosaur, see you soon raccoon. And I've got about a dozen more of those that are in there. And so I really like these. I think this is kind of cool. So anyway, that's that's where we're at. Corey Haynes must have just climbed the leaderboard. Look at that. He's got 100,004 coins now, thanks to a nice gift from Mr. Smoofy that he won't even feel the pain of. But there you are, Corey. You're on the board. So one of the other things that I would love to do, this is much more work, is to be able to have the leaderboard set so that it recognizes what color people are in their text, like not color people, but like the color of their name in the chat, and if they're here in the chat, then to set their name to that color in the leaderboard. But that's more work. Anyway, Corey's made it to the leaderboard. He has achieved all of his lifelong goals now. But let's keep going on this presentation. So let's keep it fresh, keep it random, right? Vary the order you present your statement. So it's not even just about randomizing your speech. It's also about randomizing the order in which your speech arrives. So here's one example. If you're a travel agent, you might have these 5 things that you need to know, right? Origin, destination, airline, departure date, return date. All of those things are things that you need before you can go search for someone to get a flight. But is there anything that says you have to ask them in that order? So what if we flipped them? What if it's departure date, return date, origin, destination, airline? Does that change anything? It really doesn't. And so because of that, you should try to optimize to flip these around and ask them in random orders so that you get the user to pay attention. Again, when they go through a process that's familiar and repeatable, they fall asleep. We don't want them to fall asleep. Okay, number 7. Handle the unexpected gracefully. There are going to be errors. People are going to say things that are just completely off the wall and that you will not be able to predict. And so, by default, if you just run into an error in your code, what will happen is Alexa will say there was a problem with the requested skills response. That's all well and good, but we don't really want the user to ever hear that. So, you may have heard it earlier on my TKO trivia. This is the error that I use. It seems our trivia questions are better than our software developers. Something is broken, but we've alerted our team to the problem. Can I offer you a random trivia question instead? Now, it doesn't mean that that's necessarily going to work, but I've at least given them something that is meaningful and in kind of the voice of my skill. Let me give you an example of how we can do this and how we can handle this in an even better way by using the words that the user gave us back at them. So, look at this. I have that Major League Baseball skill that I mentioned earlier, the game's back. So what if I ask it about a football team like the New York Jets? Let's take a look. Alexa, open Games Back.
I've added the entire MLB standings to your screen. What team do you want to know about?
The New York Jets.
I'm sorry, I don't think New York Jets is a baseball team. Can I tell you about another team?
The Columbus Blue Jackets.
I'm sorry, I don't think Columbus Blue Jackets is a baseball team. Which team would you like to know about next?
Cleveland Indians.
The Cleveland Indians are 3 games back in the American League Central. They are in 3rd place,
Alexa,
with a record of 30.
Stop.
Goodbye.
Yes, Mr. Smoofy, I'd be happy to revisit that. Let's. I just lost your question off my screen, but let's see if I can scroll and find it. I get what you're saying for those questions from a travel agent. Normally, they're always asked in the same order all the time. Yeah, I'd be happy to discuss it. Like when we're done, I'm almost done with this whole talk, and then we can dive into that. But there's no reason for them to be asked in that order. It's just that we ask them in that order because of tradition or whatever. But when you're trying to get somebody to do something entirely with their voice, they have so much other visual and auditory distraction that if you're going to keep them focused, all you need to do is mix up the order. And if they can't predict what's coming next, then they have to keep paying attention. LJ, to how to play, you can check your balance by saying !balance. To play, you can say !poker, and then a space, and then how much you want to bet. You can do the same thing with !slots. And then roulette gets a little more complicated, but it's !roulette, space, the amount you want to bet, space, where you want to put it on the roulette wheel. So that should answer your question there. Anyway, that's about the New York Jets. And this is the example I just showed you, right? The New York Jets aren't a baseball team. Is there something else I can tell you about, right? This is a really good example of that. So if you, LJ, if you say slots just like that, it is going to bet half of whatever your money is. So if you don't provide a wager amount, it will bet half of your stack. So Corey just lost 50,000 coins due to that specific rule. But if you indicate a bet, then it will use only the coins that you have there. Okay, so number 8, make enhancements based on data. This is really just thinking about how your people use your skill and how you can make it better. So this is an example of me paying attention to the analytics that are happening inside my skill. I can see all of the things that have been said to my skill. I can see where it says answer intent topic. This is for that dev tip skill where I can see exactly the things people were saying when they said, tell me about something cool. Well, if I'm not handling that, it would be really easy to go in and add that to one of my intents so that I can actually give them something cool or something new. The same goes for like dialogue management. I didn't have anything in there for that. So we sat down and we wrote a topic really quick that answered that question, added it to our database, and we were off and running. So paying attention to your analytics is important, but when you're thinking about how you want to spend your time adding more features, think about what intents are getting used and how. We have this display template intent, and there were a bunch of new display templates introduced a couple of years ago, and I was going to add them, but I went and looked at this and realized, man, it seems like I should probably spend more time on the answer intent and the get news intent. There's a lot of things that I want to do there. We should pay attention to those things and pay a lot less attention to the display template intent, which it seems like really no one's using. So this is the kind of data that you can use, and this is available for free as part of the developer console. And it makes it very, very easy for you to be able to find out how people are using your skill, where they're using it, or where they're missing, right? What kind of things are they saying that maybe I'm not catching? Number 9, provide contextual help. I can't emphasize this one enough, but normally, let's say you're a pizza shop and you build a help function for your skill. You write something like this. This skill lets you order from our big menu of pizza, breadsticks, pasta, sandwiches, wings, and desserts. What would you like to do? This isn't help. This is more like an about page. But this is the kind of thing that we see over and over and over again with people inside their help content. What help should look like instead is, let's say I was ordering a pizza and I get confused on something and I say help. Help should help me. Help should reach out a helping hand and say, here's how you do the thing you want to do. And so in this example, I could say, oh, it looks like you're trying to order a pizza. You can add or remove toppings by saying things like add pepperoni or remove anchovies. You can also add extras like sauces, extra cheese, or different crusts. Just ask for them. Do you want to get back to your pizza, or do you need help with something else, right? And maybe they didn't need help with the pizza. We want to give them that opportunity, but maybe they just want to get back to ordering their pizza. Now they understand exactly how to do it. This is contextual help. This kind of experience lets the user know in the moment what they're doing right now, how that can help them. So contextual help is huge. You want to take them from I can't to I can, right? Fantastic photo. Okay, last one, number 10. Beta test with real users. I cannot tell enough people about beta testing. You can get up to 5,000 people to use your skill before you've ever published it. And what that allows you to do is get it in front of users, get it in front of real people, and improve it before it's available to the public. So in our tool, you can set up your email address. You can create, I think it's up to 5,000 people. You just add their email addresses. It will send them an email and they can use it. If for whatever reason they don't get the email or it's caught in their spam filter or whatever, you can click that copy invite URL. Their email address still has to be in the box, but you can copy that invite URL, send it to them, and then they can just click on that to become a beta tester. To become a beta tester, you just have to invite people. So as I'm building this Alexa skill that is the casino, there's going to be a 30 or so day window before I actually launch it where I'm going to reach out to folks like LJ or a number of other people that are here. I would hope Mr. Smoofy would want to participate. People that want to try it out, to use it, to bang on the edges, to try and be weird with it. And so we will get them to all that. Is there an API that allows you to add them to that list from a sign-up form? No, there is not. There is not a external way to allow people to sign up for your beta. You have to kind of add them manually, unfortunately. But that's a great feature request, actually, Mr. Smoofy. If you would do me a huge favor, because that's fantastic, I'll give you one of two choices. You can either send me an email. My email is jeffblan@amazon.com. Or you can just go to alexa.uservoice.com, and you could submit that idea there. That's not an idea I've heard before, and it's brilliant. That's something that should be there. a way for me to say, hey, want to be in my beta? Sign up here, and people can just opt in. I think that's incredible. So I'll give you the choice how you want to do that, but I want to make sure that I present that to some folks. I actually have a meeting later today, and that's going to be on my list for sure. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so where you start, before you even get into emails and strangers and a bunch of other people testing your skill, start with your stock photo family. That's where you want to go. That's where you want people to give it a run through, to try things out, to give it an opportunity to go. And then once you've gotten some of the rougher edges gone, then give the beta test a run. What I did is I actually got a bunch of my colleagues. This is all of us when we could get together in person. This kind of photo looks strange anymore. But we were in Seattle, and we were trying out each other's skills. We were giving them tests. We were trying to get around the edges and say things they weren't expecting. And so this is the kind of thing that you want to do over and over, is give people an opportunity to try your stuff and use it, because they will do things differently than you will, for sure. Another thing to note is this is the first Alexa Studio that we had. If you guys watch us on the Amazon Alexa channel here on Twitch, this was our first studio. This is how it looked. And we've broadened and grown quite a bit since then. Each of us has our own studios, obviously. But in addition to that, the studio that's there at the Seattle office is fantastic and spacious and lots of room and much, much cooler backdrop. So, okay, the last thing I want to leave you with, there's 2 lessons on this slide from The Wizard of Oz. The first one is, before you do any testing, and really before you really write any code, you can do some beta testing. And the way to do that is to behave like the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. Put somebody behind a curtain that knows what's possible, and then have people come up and talk to them. It takes away all of the experience you have in a normal conversation. There's no body language, there's no facial expression, it's only voice. And so by having an interaction back and forth with only voice, you get the opportunity to hear how people will say things, when they'll say them, the order the words that they'll use, and you can record those things. And they can have a conversation the way that they'd want to, and you can see what the natural flows of things are. But when you're done, you have a lot of natural, obvious paths to build for your skills so that people can go the way that they want to go. So, really important lesson there. The other thing to think about, and this is broader, this should maybe be point 11, is that you'll remember that Dorothy has these special shoes in this movie, the ruby slippers. She discovers late in the movie that if she just taps them together 3 times, she can go home. And those ruby slippers are a really good idea when you think about the things that you want to enable with voice. You don't want to do the stuff that I can find by just going to your homepage or by opening your app. If I can open the app and I can see the information without ever tapping on anything, that's not the stuff people are going to use for voice. What they want is to dig a little deeper. Maybe they want to send a message, or they want to see some information that requires a little analysis, or they want to dive a little deeper on what's going on with their bank balance, right? If it requires more than 3 clicks or taps to get there, you might want to think enabling that stuff for voice, because I think that's really the stuff that people are going to be looking for. So I'm at the end of my presentation. We've gone through all 10 things. If you want to take a screenshot, now is the time to do that. Here are the 10 things all on one screen that list out all the things that we just talked about in a simple, easy to remember list. So I'll give you a moment to do that if you want to grab that screenshot. And then finally, thank you. That was my whole presentation. So I'm hoping you guys enjoyed that. I hope that was interesting and useful. But that's a presentation I've given a number of times, but I need to make a good recording of it, so I wanted to make sure I went through it once at least before I record it later today. So Jeff Bland at Amazon.com. That is correct, Mr. Smoofy. Nice job. Thank you for the wonderful idea, and I will do my best to give you credit while also taking credit for myself. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation. So we can close that down. W. Giorgio, always a little late. That's right. That's the beauty of Twitch, right? It was recorded, so you can come watch it when you want to watch it on your time. Okay, so what should we do now? I could probably close this whole window. LJ asks a question. His hand goes up. What is your question, LJ? can you use Alexa shopping with affiliate links? No, that's a thing that I've been asking for forever. Actually, as a side story, I use affiliate links all the time in like my blog posts and stuff like that. And yesterday, the new Xbox went on sale, the Xbox Series X. And it took forever for Amazon to actually make them go live. They were supposed to be live. The sales were supposed to go live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. And they didn't. I think the sales didn't actually start until almost 11:50. That was when they finally made it available. And I just happened to be wrapping up my stream, and I was trying to get an Xbox. We did it on stream yesterday. And I got in, and I bought one. And it was super easy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should tell people. So I grabbed an affiliate link, and I threw it out on Twitter, and I said, this is 100% real. They're available now. Go. And I put my affiliate link out there. And yesterday, I sold 2 Xboxes through my affiliate link. That's $1,000 in sales. So that'll probably mean I get like 25 cents. But I think it's super cool that I was able to make a little money yesterday off of the Xbox sales. So I have to wait and see how much that actually is. I don't know. Actually, we could look. Let's look live here on stream, right? Nothing to hide. So if I go to Amazon, nope, that's not it. And then I click on this site Stripe. Oh yeah, look at this. Yesterday did pretty good. So if I go to Tools, Reports, Earnings Report, is this what I looked at yesterday? I want to look at yesterday. I can't imagine somebody that's doing this full time. This is a lot of work. I earned $2.60 on those 2 Xboxes. That's pretty awesome. $2.60. I'll take it. Anyway, that's a long story. So, no, to answer your question, that was a very long way, LJ, of answering your question, which is, no, there's not currently a way to do affiliate shopping. I think that there should be. I think that all skills should be able to sell products that are on Amazon. So like, hey, by the way, did you know this thing exists? Do you want to know more about it? And they just kick you over to a sales process, but it uses their affiliate stuff. It doesn't even seem like it would be that hard, but it would be very interesting to me to see how that goes. Okay, so then W. Giorgio asked you a question. What is your thoughts on these stats? By 2020, 30% of web browsing will be screenless. Half of all online searches will be voice searches by 2020. That seems high. That seems high to me. I think that voice search has to get better. Here's the reason that I don't think that number is accurate. I mean, that's almost a third. I think there's a lot of people doing search, but they're not necessarily getting exactly what they need all the time. When you're in a search engine, right? If I come in here, let's say that I go to these guys. Nope. I don't need my mail. I need just Google. So I come here and I say, let's say best 1989 baseball card. Okay? And so we look at this, and the most valuable 1989 baseball cards. That's good, but then I also have like baseball card shops nearby. It's not really what I want. Oh, I want cheap ones. Okay, cool. So like I got down to the 4th result. That's kind of what I was looking for. The problem with voice is that you don't get the list. You get the best one possible shot at the answer. And Alexa does a good job of this. Hey, I found this online. Hey, I found this on Wikipedia. Hey, I think this is probably the answer to your question. And she's right a lot, but she's not right all the time. And that's just the nature of search, because there's so many ways to ask a question, and the way you meant it may not be the way that Alexa heard it, or vice versa. And so, because of that, I think it's possible that number could happen, but 2020, like, it's not going to happen this year. Let's see. So I hope that answers your question, W. Giorgio. Okay, Mark Cuban talks about being a local Alexa guy. Can you break that down for me, and why $30 an hour? Well, I was actually there in the room with Mark Cuban when he was giving that interview, and I can tell you that his philosophy on this is that, and the question that was really posed, this gets taken out of context quite often, is that it's, hey, if I was a teenage kid, if I was 16 years old today, and I was looking for a way to make some money as a 16-year-old, what would you recommend I do? And his answer was, get into Alexa. There's two sides to that. One is build some skills for people. There's so much, he looks for things that seem hard but aren't. And he tries to think of ways that kids could do that. He actually told a good story about how when he was a kid, his first kind of hustle, the way he first made money as a teenager, was that he walked around his neighborhood selling garbage bags. He just went to the grocery store and bought a bunch of garbage bags, and then went door to door asking people if they needed more garbage bags, and oftentimes they were out and would just buy them from him. And it got to be where he was reliable, and they stopped thinking about going to the grocery store. They're like, Mark will be by, we'll just buy them from him. And before he knew it, like, he was selling thousands of boxes of garbage bags a month. Now, this is before the internet, but that kind of stuff, that kind of little hustle, right? You think about what kids can do today to make some money. Kids are far more advanced in technology than most of their neighbors. And so the story that he was really trying to tell is, one, build skills for people. If they want skills to do something, or even just routines, help them set that stuff up. But two, there's so much about smart home and Alexa in general that people just don't know. You could be an Alexa training company and just say, hey, I'll come over, and for $30 an hour, I'll show you a whole bunch of stuff. For a 16-year-old kid, if they go in there for half an hour and make $15, that's pretty good. That's really good money compared to most of the other jobs or opportunities they're going to be given. So that's a really interesting philosophy, and that's the story that he was telling, was $30 an hour. That's really, we're talking about teenage kids and how they could make some money right now just by using the technical knowledge they have amongst all of their neighbors that don't have it. So hopefully that answers your question. Boy, this casino's rocking today. You guys are really rolling quite nicely. LJ, you're about 38,000 coins from being on the leaderboard. We'll get you there. And there's 450 more. So yeah, that's Mark's a great guy, by the way. I was really surprised. He's a super nice person. You often think of guys like that that are super wealthy and famous and stuff that are just going to end up being kind of jerky, and he was not at all. He was fantastic. And I don't know if I've told this story, but as another part of my job, I got to spend an entire half a day with Adam Savage from the Mythbusters. And I'm only telling this story because he is hands down the nicest celebrity I have ever met in my entire life. So genuine, so curious, so authentic. And the thing that really struck me, on the same day I met him, I also met Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is a very nice person, but he's what you expect from a celebrity, right? He's doing you a favor by shaking your hand. He's doing you a favor by speaking to you. And he knows that, like, you're going to go tell people about that. But he doesn't really put a whole lot of effort in. It's very nice to meet you, and then he's completely forgotten you. With Adam Savage, he asked me questions. He was asking me questions about what my kids were into. We spent some time playing VR together. He told me stories from behind the scenes of Mythbusters that were direct answers to questions I'd asked, right? It wasn't like he's got the same stories he just tells everybody. It was really nice and genuine and just fantastic. And I can't emphasize enough, if you get an opportunity to spend some time with the guy, do it. But if you can do it my way, I got to run through a simulation of the Blue Origin space capsule with the CEO of Blue Origin explaining how everything worked to just me and Adam. That's in the top 5 moments of my life for sure. It was absolutely super cool. So LJ says, what's your advice for a 25-year-old? My advice for a 25-year-old is find your thing. I think back to when I was 25. I got out of school at 22. I got a job as a social worker because I have a degree in psychology, if we haven't discussed that before. And I was making about 20 grand a year. It was terrible. Couldn't move out of my parents' house. Couldn't afford anything. Wanted to get married. Couldn't. None of that, right? And so I looked around, and I was living in Cleveland at the time, and I found a company that was looking for a webmaster, right? That's not a title you see very often anymore. And they wanted me to basically come in and completely rebuild their website, build a bunch of administration tools, data drive, a bunch of it. And I didn't know how to do a lot of that, but I knew how to build a website, like the basics. So I got in there and I just kind of learned on the job. Like, all right, I want to do this. How do I do this thing? And kind of found my way. And I built them such a good website, in fact, that they let me go because they didn't need me anymore. The site was fresh. They had administration tools for just about everything, so they could change all the panels on the thing. They could update all the content dynamically without having to code anything. It was actually a pretty fantastic website for being one of my first from-scratch builds. And they let me go, and I was angry about it. But I went and I found an advertising agency by about the time I was 24, 25, down in Columbus. And I started building stuff for like Burton Snowboards and Victoria's Secret and Ford Motor Company. And those things, working on a team of people, taught me way more than I could ever have imagined. And that gave me the opportunity to start thinking about what could I build next and how could I do this. But early on, when you're 25, you've got nothing but time. I have two pieces of advice. Find a job making any amount of money doing something that you want to do. There's a guy, his name's Gary Vaynerchuk. You may have heard him referred to as Gary V. I've heard him give advice to people, and this is especially true for people when they're like, I can't find a job anywhere. Try this. You're not working now anyway, so give this a run. Find a company you want to work for. Find a company that you see a future for yourself in. And go find somebody on LinkedIn or just show up at the building, talk to people and say, I want to work here. I'm passionate, I'm talented, and I want to be able to demonstrate that. For the next 6 months, I will work for you for free. They're going to be challenged by that. Work for free, what does that mean? Well, I will show up every day. I will do everything you need, and I will anticipate even more. I will take care of everything that needs to be done before anybody else could. I will be your hardest worker. I will be here first. I will leave last. I will put in the hustle that's necessary. And if at the end of 6 months, I want you to have to decide whether you want to pay me or live without me. And it's a really interesting philosophy because 6 months is a long time to not have an income. But if you've been looking for a job for 3 months, that probably seems like a cool thing to have done 3 months ago, right? So it's something to definitely think about as an opportunity. LJ, I don't know if you could pull off something like that, but having that kind of hustle, becoming invaluable to someone, is actually not that hard. And if they see the opportunity to take advantage of someone that's willing to do it for free, I think you've got a good opportunity there. But I think more realistically, if you're looking for a job in development, there are so many jobs in development. And a lot of times people they'll self-exclude themselves from jobs. Oh, that needs 5 years experience. I only have 2. Apply for those jobs. The job descriptions you see out there they're listing the perfect candidate, but I know for a fact the salary does not match someone that has that kind of experience. So the fact that there's even a job listing out there means they've already exhausted their kind of network search, and now they're just throwing it out there and hoping someone finds it. So my recommendation is don't exclude yourself. Look for jobs that need 5 or 10 years of experience, even if you only have 1. Go after it. Apply for those jobs. You'll be surprised the kind of callbacks that you can get. But if you don't apply, I guarantee they won't call you because they don't know you exist. So that's my little, let's get a job at 25 pep talk. Hopefully that helps a little bit. All right. $105 billion is out of control. I don't know what else I'm going to do today. Like, I don't... It's too late for me to start something because I don't want to get halfway into something and not have it finished. So I think I might just wrap things up here today. This has been a fantastic stream. I'm noticing that a lot more people show up after 10 o'clock. And so, I don't know. Maybe, do I need to move it back to 10 to noon instead of 9 to 11? I really like the 9 to 11 because it lets me kick my day off this way. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm trying to be reliable, but it seems like a lot of people get on Twitch at 10. And we've got 13 viewers here right now. That's good. I would take 13 viewers every time. I'd take 132, but I'm not being greedy at all. I want to make sure that we're doing cool things, and I think we're going to really grow this chatbot and do a lot of cool things here. So I think we will see an audience grow over time. But I want to say thank you to all of you that are here. Because it is absolutely my pleasure that I have the opportunity every morning to get on here and chat with all of you and share what I'm working on. I really, really enjoy it. So I think LJ, you will be able to play this on Alexa. I'm in the middle of building an Alexa skill right now. So, and it'll even travel with your balance. So the balance you have here will be the balance you have there. It'll be awesome. So that's coming, but we're probably looking at later this year before it's actually available to the public. Because there's a lot more to do. I have a whole to-do list, actually, if we go find that. File, open. I have a to-do list here somewhere. To-do. And this is all stuff that I have to do before. Let me blow that up a little bit and do one of these. This is my list of things that have to be done before I'm willing to publish the skill. So there's a lot here. I've got lots and lots more to do. I've got lots and lots of ideas. I'd love for like all of those social media icons. It would be cool if I could figure out a way to make those clickable during the video. I don't even know if that's possible, but it seems like it'd be awesome. Craps is almost done. Blackjack hasn't even started yet, but I don't think that'll be super hard. Randomizing all my speech strings, minimum and maximum bets. That's primarily for Mr. Smoofy. Daily rewards, so you have an opportunity to get more coins at a volume when you come back every day. Some kind of leveling. I don't know what that's going to look like, but well, TeamView, when beta is available, I will let everybody know loudly so that you can get into that. I also want to add achievements, right? Your first pair, your first 3 of a kind, your first 21 in blackjack, your first hard 4, right? We could have all sorts of crazy achievements in this game. And I have an achievement engine built, so it's not hard to do. I just have to install that. And then down here, I have a lot of things that are like, hey, you still need to do this. I have a progressive slot machine idea for every time you play the slot machine and it doesn't win, the jackpot goes up. And that's not just for you, but for everybody. So the jackpot continues to climb. That kind of group activity stuff, too, will be kind of fun. Anyway, there's lots and lots of things on my to-do list. And until these are all done, I'm not ready to publish or even really go to beta. So we'll see what comes of it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up for today. It's 10:21. It gives me a full day to get a bunch of stuff done, including working on the casino in my own free time, which is so limited lately. But most of all, I have to record another version of that presentation that we just saw. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. It's always my honor and my pleasure. And I will see you guys all tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9